What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of the Breakdown Sportscast. I'm your good friend and host, Kory Willis. Hope everyone is having a great Monday. And, we just wrapped up week 5 of the college football season. So I hope you guys enjoyed the weekend that was week 5. We had a lot of great games, crazy finishes. But overall, we hope you all are doing well out there. So glad that you all are back with us for another edition of the show. As always, we appreciate you guys listening to the podcast. We're on many different streaming platforms out there, such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Amazon Music, and Amazon Audible, iHeartRadio, and many other streaming platforms out there. So feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to the show. It definitely helps us know what we're doing and how we can improve the show for the future for you all. So as always, we very much appreciate you guys' support. As always, you know who I'm with. I am with my good friend and co-host. He is Chris Bolton. Chris, what's going on, man?
What's going on, Kory? Man, in an eventful weekend of college football. A wild one, to say the least, where we got a good old-fashioned Jefferson Pilot special to get the day started. And we also finished with felt like what's going to be a classic, man. That felt like a mid-2000s regular season college football game with Bama and Georgia. We'll get into that, but overall, it's just it was a great weekend to be a college football fan.
Yes, it was. It was it was one heck of a weekend. We had a lot of big moments on the field. Even on Friday's games, we had a Friday slate last week. Those came down to the wire. So it was a great week overall. I hope our listeners out there very much enjoyed it, and depending on which team, which side of the stadium you were, I just hope you guys very much enjoyed this week. It was very eventful.
Yeah, it's one of them ones, and the first game we're gonna get into and talk about was one of those ones that no matter how the season plays out, this is going to be a game to remember. Just special. It's literally an instant classic.
It definitely was. We'll go ahead and kick it off, Chris, just because this game was just incredible from beginning to the end. I think we were all in shock, and overall, it lived up to the hype. And that game was the game in Tuscaloosa where the Alabama Crimson Tide hosted the Georgia Bulldogs at Bryant Denny Stadium at Saban Field. I guess we have to call it that now, Chris. So, this game had it all. If you wanted some good defense, if you wanted some good highlight plays, some Bolton's bets style plays that are kind of shocking. Oh man, this game had it all. Two heavyweights clashing in Tuscaloosa, and overall it can only be one winner, Chris. And come to find out, it was the Crimson Tide with a 41-34 victory over the Georgia Bulldogs. So Alabama's now 4-0. Kalen DeBoer now has his first win in the SEC as a head coach. And maybe you can say what you want about the coaching. I can say what I want about the coaching. Me and you have mentioned it multiple times on this show about how DeBoer's teams can kind of be a little lackadaisical, and I'm sure that will continue in its own way throughout the rest of the season. But I'm sure as we're recording this on a Sunday evening. I'm sure Kalen DeBoer can get up from his bed and kind of have that sigh of relief now that he finally has that first win in the SEC. So, what do you think overall about this game, Chris? Because this was a masterpiece.
Whew, man, this was insane. Alabama came out and just imposed their will. Georgia's defense had no answer to Alabama's offensive attack to start the game. And then to couple that, it looked like Georgia was just in shock. Like this team, the offense just could not get in rhythm. You were seeing audibles called, and Smith didn't catch the audible, didn't hear the audible, and you see Carson Beck throw an interception. That one wasn't his fault, but he had some other plays where he just didn't read the field well. He wasn't seeing the field, and Alabama was taking advantage. This talented young secondary was making life just tough for him. And Alabama just got out to a crazy start. Jalen Milroe was looking like the Jalen Milroe in the EA college football game. Like, if somebody really knows how to play with Milroe, you are in for a long day.
You can reenact all of those plays he did.
Hey, man, it's a special thing to see when he's really clicking.
Mm-hmm.
He's a bad man. He's a bad man, but overall, it's just it was an amazing battle, and Georgia bounced back, got some things going there to go as they went to halftime. And then
this is what joint pain looks like when you keep moving with the
lead. Just turned it up to another notch.
Liberty Mutual customized my car insurance, so I saved hundreds.
Sensational. Just an amazing effort by Carson Beck and his offense to get back in the game. His receivers were making plays. Just they fell short, and I think part of it is because Ryan Williams is an amazing talent himself, and that play he made with that grab, staying in bounds, the dead leg spin move on two defenders, taking it to the house. That's special stuff. Like there's nothing you can do about that. That's just Ryan Williams being Ryan Williams. But what really reared its ugly head is the Beck's accuracy. It can be bad. It's been bad the last few weeks. He's been very hit or miss, and when he isn't accurate, we see the plays that were made in this game where Alabama was getting interceptions, and that last throw, it's like a hero ball kind of throw, just a heave. The DB saw it the whole way. It wasn't like he put it where only the receiver could get it. Just not a mistake that you want from somebody who's being talked about as a first round pick at quarterback. So you expect better from Carson, but great effort by Georgia to get back in this game. But this Bama team, you got to give them all the credit. They had a game plan, they were executing, and when this team is clicking, they look like the scariest team in college football, Kory.
No, you're right. Yeah, like we can talk about their defense. So of course, when they're clicking, they reminisce a lot of those Saban-esque teams at times when they're all on the same page. But offensively as well, when they're clicking, they seem unstoppable. And when you have a guy like Ryan Williams that's as young as he is, and I know people have just been talking about how this guy is developing for the Crimson Tide. It's just a freshman. It's crazy. So I think you gotta tip your cap off to Kalen DeBoer and how he got this team to prepare for a big game like this. Like this was the number 2 team coming in to Tuscaloosa. Like a lot of people were wondering, like, was this Alabama team ready to take on this challenge against Georgia? I mean, you can look at and see what Georgia did against that Kentucky game. all you want. It's still Georgia at the end of the day. But they came out, they answered the call, they responded at times that they needed to, and I mean, it's one of those things where you still can see those mental lapse moments for the Tide, and that's just gonna be one of those things that happens. But hats off to them for answering the call, responding when they needed to in order to win this ball game. So you're right, Chris. They look dominant from beginning to the end, and they found that will to not be denied when they needed to.
Yeah, no, they did, because it was looking really bad. Georgia really did pull off the comeback and took the lead.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, they took the lead with 3 minutes to go in the game.
And hats off to Kirby Smart and his staff for figuring it out. They did something to get into Carson Beck's ear to kind of calm this man down, because man, he looked rattled. It looked like he was looking at the college football 25 stadium meter all day.
Stadium post. Yeah. No, he was definitely seeing ghosts for a second. It was not pretty at all. But he did. He turned it around that second half. But yeah, no, this was just an amazing game, because Georgia, I think you leave this game, it's a tough loss. But you leave this game and there's no moral victory. I think this team can feel confident that when the next time adversity strikes, we're good. We came back and we're 2 minutes away from winning a game at Bryant-Denny Stadium, where we were down big, 20 plus. You were down big to start the game, and you came back and made a ball game of it. And you're leaving that game feeling like we should have won. If we do our job in the first quarter, we leave here with the win. So I think it was a growing experience for a Georgia team that, yes, Carson Beck is more experienced, but these are brand new guys put in position of being playmakers. Yes, they're 4- and 5-star recruits, but at the end of the day, they're still brand new to this. They're still making names for themselves. So these are the kind of games you have to go through to grow into being those guys that you're expected to be. It's part of the journey, part of the process. So I think Georgia can feel confident. Next time the bullets are flying, they'll be good. And Bama leaves this game feeling like, we're Bama. This is what we do. We win these kind of games. And anybody, if you want to get in a shootout with us, that's fine. We can win that way too. We don't mind getting in the shootout. If you want to be in a tough defensive battle, our defense is one of the best in the nation too. It's just extremely talented and athletic, and they have a great DC who was dialing it up. Made life horrible for Carson Beck. So both teams should be feeling great, because they're gonna meet one way or another again. I think, Kory, whether it's in the SEC championship game or in the playoffs, I think these two teams are on a path to cross paths again.
Oh no, I don't I won't deny that at all. I definitely believe this is a game that we're gonna see again at some point of the season, and yes. I'm going to be excited. I know you're going to be excited, Chris, because, man, this game was entertaining.
Oh, my goodness. It was the emotional swings, the deep bombs. I mean, it wasn't just like matriculating down the field touchdowns. There were some bombs in this game, just plays being made one after another. So, yeah. This was one of them games, man. I can even as a Georgia fan, I wouldn't mind rewatching this one as a fan of the game, because it was just such a cinematic finish. I mean, this is You can't write a script to this. It just has to play out this way. There's nobody that can write this game script.
No, you're right. As we're looking at footage of Ryan Williams make that ridiculous touchdown. I mean, who could write that? Who could write that better than
you can't write that, and the fact that he stayed in bounds. Why is his body control so amazing?
I know
early. That's freaky stuff.
Yeah, he's just a freshman.
Just a freshman, and that boy got some good knees.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that want to do something like that. They try to, and they gonna end up hurting themselves.
I'm telling you.
So, hey, he is one of a kind.
I know. As two gentlemen that have played sports in our time, we rarely see plays like that happen.
For sure. I mean, we all made some plays in our own rights, but that right there, that is top 1% athlete.
Yeah,
that's one of those kind of plays.
hands down, man. But yeah, what a great game. I hope everyone out there got a chance to witness probably one of the best games of the year so far. There's still a lot of football left to be played, so I don't know who else is going to answer the call, but I can't wait. We'll definitely be tuning in to watch a lot of these games this year. But as for this one, this was a fun game, and Alabama can now dust off Georgia for a little while now, and move on to bigger and better things throughout the season until maybe they ultimately meet them again. So they have a game against Vanderbilt at Nashville coming this week, Chris. So that's gonna be it's gonna be interesting.
Will be interesting.
We want to see if Alabama is still kind of like on a high, after a game like that, because that was an emotional football game. So I just have to say that Mr. Pavia from Vanderbilt will be waiting. So
we want Bama.
Well, let's hope we don't get that promo again. Let's hope it doesn't turn like that.
I don't think nobody wants Bama. If the whole college football world was watching, when that team is clicking, that is a scary bunch, Kory. I don't know for 4 quarters if this is the best team in the nation. You know what I'm saying? Like if they can play at that level for 4 quarters, but when they are at their peak, man, they are scary on both sides of the ball.
They're unstoppable. I will give them that. And that's just a test to who's out there, the talent that Alabama still has. Nick Saban left, but a lot of this talent still there. They had, with a lot of new talent as well. So, hey, hats off to them. Still a lot of football left to be played. Mm-hmm. And, we're going to see what happens for the rest of the season. But, a good win, a big win to, kind of...
big sure. And this a recruiting flex, too.
Yeah, it is.
It's going to pay off in the recruiting battles.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. So this was a good win to, set all of that into high gear with recruiting, with just overall team this season, and trying to go further and try to reach that SEC championship game. So we'll see what happens. But overall, enjoyed the game, Chris. I know you did as well, and we'll see what happens with both Alabama and Georgia moving forward this season. But anything else you want to add to this game before we move on?
No, sir.
All right. Well, from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, we will now head to Oxford, Mississippi, Chris, where this is that. I know you always mention it. This is that Jefferson Pilot special kind of game that we got earlier in the day. So
it was at noon, 11 a.m. Central, the exact time of the Jefferson Pilot games back in the day.
Yes,
and it was low scoring. That's that prime. The early 2000s SEC football. That is most definitely a Jefferson Pilot special. It qualifies.
Oh man, yeah, they might as well have flashed the old SEC logo and everything, Oh man, but no, this game was crazy from beginning to the end. Ole Miss hosted Kentucky, and this was a game that a lot of people were looking at, Ole Miss, handling Kentucky well. They thought that, after Kentucky lost that Georgia game, that Kentucky wasn't going to have really much of an answer for Ole Miss for 4 quarters. But hats off to Mark Stoops. Like, man, finding your way to win this ball game, you got to give it to him, Chris. I mean, 20-17. Like, they capped Ole Miss at just 17 points in this ball game. And, yeah, I mean, that's big when you have a guy like Jackson Dart and all of these receivers at Ole Miss. You're looking at these guys to get well into the 40s and the 50s in terms of the scoreboard. But no, Kentucky, they figured out a game plan to stop that offense that Lane Kiffin, has revved up down there in Oxford, and now now they can kind of settle in and say, hey, we finally got one of the games that's maybe a lot of people didn't think that we could win, and now we can kind of manage the season a little bit better. So hats off to Kentucky by getting the big win. As for Ole Miss, this is your first loss, and it's an SEC loss. It's what I said on this show probably multiple times now, Chris, me and you. That first half of that schedule for Ole Miss, just inexcusable. When you have a team like this, that you bring in all of this great talent, and you stack up your first half of the season with practically cupcakes, and then you get into SEC play and you can't even beat a team like Kentucky, I don't know what to tell you. So yeah, it is what it is. Well, what do you think overall, Chris?
Shout out to Mark Stoops in Kentucky. We were concerned about this team losing the locker room. Coach Stoops losing this locker room. With all the rumors, especially with how things went down during the off season. But clearly, this group still bought in, still locked in, and pulled off something huge for Kentucky. It's the highest ranked road win at an SEC campus stadium in school history. When Kentucky beat number 1 Ole Miss, it was in Jackson, Mississippi, in 1964. So it's the biggest win in school history in the SEC game on the road. They needed it after not coming away with the win against Georgia. They were able to close the deal in this one. And I think this team can potentially get on a roll. The offense looked, improved and just leaps and bounds better than what it did that South Carolina game. So we'll see. But they have, I think if we look across the SEC, they have one of the best defenses in the SEC, Kory. This team put the straps. They put Ole Miss in the car seat. They locked them up. held them to 17 points. Hey, that's impressive. Brad White might not be at Kentucky much longer, man, because he keeps spitting out these great defenses.
Yeah, man. Like he was he was like a defensive guru out there on Saturday. Stopping Jackson Dart in that potent offense at Ole Miss. It was it was great. It was a great game plan that they had for them. You can tell Jackson Dart. He was just scrambling just to make plays. Of course, that
he wasn't seeing the field. It seemed like Kory.
Yeah.
It was times where he should have ran the ball. He said he looking to pass and read the field, just take off.
Yeah, that sack near the end of the game where he kind of rolled out to the left. I'm like, dude, do you not feel this pressure that's coming at you?
Go right,
run.
Like you're not gonna have all day. Go,
yeah,
make a decision.
It mind boggled me, but it was amazing to see how well Kentucky could rattle Jackson Dart in this game, and yeah, it was a great game plan by them. I can't say anything more. I mean, you didn't even like Henry Parrish. He didn't even get well over like 100 yards in this game. I mean, he still got a touchdown. Just 62 yards with a touchdown, 13 carries for the day. But we know what this team can do in terms of getting downfield. Both Dart and Parrish, and those receivers that Ole Miss has as well. Like when they're clicking, they're very hard to stop, and they slowed that down from beginning to the end. So yeah, man, it was great. It was a great game plan. Hats off to Mark Stoops, and I mean, what do you think now, Chris, when it comes down to Ole Miss? Because we can look at the schedule for Ole Miss moving forward. They have this is just a 3-game stretch, so I'll give this to you. They have at South Carolina next week, at LSU the following week, and then versus Oklahoma.
It's not easy.
That's not easy.
South Carolina's a tricky team. It gets crazy out there.
Yes.
In Columbia.
Mm-hmm.
That's LSU. That's a hostile place to play at. So yeah, is it Davis Bryce Stadium? It ain't easy out there. And we all know about Death Valley.
Mm-hmm.
And I just have a feeling that game's going to end up being a night game. I think the people at LSU would love for a night game at Death Valley against Ole Miss. To get the mojo going, get the voodoo, get the LSU voodoo working on them, and then Oklahoma. That won't be easy either. Oklahoma looks like they found themselves a quarterback.
They have, and they found themselves a quarterback, and we'll get to that game in our other top 25 scores of the day, Chris, or of the week. This is this was it's a really good team. Yeah,
you needed that Kentucky win, because the margin for error is very, very small now. If you're a playoff team, you need to win these next 3 games. Mm-hmm. You're gonna take it one game at a time, but you need to win these.
Right.
And you need to beat South Carolina convincingly.
Mm-hmm.
You need to beat in Oklahoma convincingly. And Oklahoma won't be easy. That defense is pressure. That's a really good defense out there in Norman. So
yeah, that's a really good defense.
We're going to learn a lot about this Ole Miss team if they can bounce back. Just how resilient they are, because they have huge aspirations they looked at themselves as national championship contenders, and
Mm-hmm.
you lose your first real challenge of the season,
At home.
that's going to make you question yourself. So we're going to see just how well they can bounce back.
Yeah, yeah, we're definitely gonna see it, and you know, like I said, this team still has a lot of talent. Like any team from around the country would love a lot of these receivers and defensive guys that Ole Miss has. So we're about to find out real quickly, Chris. How real is Ole Miss? Was this just a blunder, a little blemish on their season? Can they, turn it around and handle this schedule properly? Because I didn't even mention them playing against Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
They have to play
Mm-hmm.
against Georgia. Before that, they have to go to Fayetteville, Arkansas. I mean, say what you want to say about Arkansas, it's kind of hard to play down there in Fayetteville that time.
And with the history of Ole Miss and Arkansas games, ain't no
Yeah.
telling how that was going to play out.
Ain't no telling. So, yeah, man.
I have seen some of everything in those between those two teams when they play each other.
Right. Yeah, me and you both. So, man, it's that you can't count that out. You can't count any of these games out. And
SEC's the SEC for a reason.
I know. I know. So yeah, man. If you're Ole Miss after a loss like that, man, you got to do a little soul searching. You wanna make sure the boat ain't got all these holes in it before you get out on the river. Because if not, you gonna be 6 feet under. So
For sure.
You want to make sure you can stop the sinking before it gets worse. So they got a lot of games left. At Florida, and then at home for the Egg Bowl to finish off the regular season. A lot of football left to be played, Chris. A lot of football. So.
A lot of football for sure. So yeah, they got to stay locked in. It's a long season.
Mm-hmm. It's a long season, but yeah, man, it was a big win for Kentucky. Got the W, and we'll see what happens with them moving forward as well. But also for Ole Miss, also. So, anything else you want to mention, Chris, about this game before we move on? All right, man. All right. Well, now, Chris, we're going to move to a game that happened on Friday evening. This was a game me and you were kind of going back and forth on. The Miami Hurricanes hosted Virginia Tech on Friday. This game was very shocking by pretty much both teams. I was shocked to see Miami struggle the way that they did defensively versus the Hokies, but I'm looking at this game and saying, like, man, Virginia Tech lost that game against Vandy to start the season. I don't think that was a fluke at all. I'm not calling that a fluke. I think Vandy has improved in terms of competing. I don't think they're still there in finishing games consistently, but competing, you can't just write them off that easily. But overall, I think this game was very interesting with just how the way it played out, and how we look at Cam Ward on this show each and every week, Chris, and how much he keeps his composure. And we saw that more and more in this game. And, they stuck it out through the end, and they got that victory 38-34 over the Hokies. And who knew that Kyron Jones, the quarterback for Virginia Tech, which he also had a really good game as well. The kid can throw it. That's Cam Ward's cousin. So we see where he gets it from, Chris.
Yeah, we see why he turned up for this one.
Yeah,
I'm going up against my cousin. Oh shoot! All right, hey, he finna have to speed me. It was not easy for Miami.
Oh no, not at all, not at all. So overall, that was cool to see two family members duke it out on the gridiron, and overall, Miami escapes a loss that would have been their first loss of the season, 38-34, and boy, shout out at the end to the play. I forget who it was by fighting for that football at the end with that Hail Mary, because man, that call would have changed the trajectory of this whole game.
It did. It was overturned. It was changed into an incompletion. It was a touchdown.
Yeah.
It looked like Miami lost.
Yeah.
It just would have been a devastating loss too, man.
It would have been.
I think it would have been on the same level as, if not, maybe even worse than the Georgia Tech loss last year.
Yeah.
The self-inflicted Georgia Tech loss.
Oh my gosh.
The clock mismanagement last year. I think this would have been worse just because of the fact this is a team that is competing for a playoff spot. Is looked at as one of the best teams in the nation.
Mm-hmm.
If you lose this game at home, ooh, that would have been bad.
That would have been bad.
Yeah. I still think Miami's a really good team, but we got some questions, man. The defense is going to have to tighten up. I did not expect this from Miami's defense to give up 34 points.
Me either. But Drones. He was slanging the rock around to a couple of guys on this team, and Tootin, that guy's very fast. The running back, he was getting the ball out in the flats a couple of times, and there were times where he was handed off the ball, but man, it seemed like Miami had no way of answering anything from that offense. It took a lot out of them at the end to try to muster up everything that they could.
We are solvent
to win. So yeah, it's it's crazy how that game ended with that Hail Mary, but overall, I give Miami credit. They didn't blow it because it was very easy that they could have. So, what are your thoughts now after you beat Virginia Tech? Now, Chris, now we got to look at the schedule just to see where they're at. So next week, this week coming up, you have Cal. At Cal, so that's gonna be interesting because they have to travel all the way to play Cal this week. So, and Cal's not a bad team. So it's one of those things where Miami has a lot of trap games left. I can tell. At Louisville.
That won't be easy.
Yeah, it won't be easy versus Duke. At Georgia Tech, at Syracuse, to end the season, I think they need to, keep themselves upright for the rest of the year if they want to really, make it far in the playoffs this year. They can't afford to lose against any of these teams. They want to make it far.
Yeah. No, you're right. They got to take care of business, and so we're going to learn just how mature this Miami team is. Everybody's singing your praises. You got to come out here every week, every Saturday, or Friday and take care of business. So you escape with the win in this one, but you don't want these games to be this close. This ain't what you want. You trying to dominate. You trying to get better and better each week. We're not trying to regress, and I feel like they went down a couple notches. I feel like this is I guess some coaching material for Coach Cristobal and his staff to come in the film room and point some things out to continue to stay on these boys' heads, because they were looking very vulnerable, especially defensively.
Exactly. So yeah, man, it's going to be interesting to see what happens for the rest of the season for Miami. Like I said, they got a lot of games left that you can really call swing games at this point. Like, it can go either way. So, if they really want to make sure and solidify their playoff chances, they gotta answer the call. It's almost like Alabama. Everybody's gonna give you their best shot. So I think they need to instill that in their minds and make sure that each week everybody's gonna give their best against them. Cal this week, I don't think Cal's going to just lay down for Miami, especially after looking at that Virginia Tech game where Virginia Tech had opportunity to win. They were fighting back every time. So, we're going to see. We're going to see what happens.
Great.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, man. But yeah, it was a great game. Fun game on Friday evening. And, we'll definitely see what happens for the rest of the season for Miami. But anything else you want to add to this game, Chris, before we move on?
No, sir.
All right. And the last game that we will discuss before we go down throughout the rest of the top 25 on today's show, we're going to go down to Manhattan, Kansas, Chris, where Kansas State, the Wildcats, hosted Oklahoma State over the weekend. This was a game that me and you talked about on our prediction show, Chris, where it was that get-right game for both teams.
Mm-hmm.
Both teams had to figure out some things, after both of their losses the week prior. So, on Saturday, we got our answer on who could answer the call, and that was Kansas State. They put 42 points on the board to beat Oklahoma State in this ball game. So 42-20 was your score overall. Kansas State is now 4-1, 1-1 in conference play. Oklahoma State, Chris, 3-2, 0-2 in the conference. I can't tell you the last time Oklahoma State was 0-2.
Yeah. This is not the start to the conference season that I'm sure Coach Gundy had in mind, had envisioned. This is a tough loss, and they got beat up. It wasn't close either.
Not at all. Like they were. Avery Johnson, he could name his score on his Oklahoma State team. That was one of the things that we talked about, where we wanted to see some life in Oklahoma State. Did not get it at all. Ollie Gordon, just 15 carries for 76 yards. That's all he had. Don't even get me started on Bowen.
Yeah.
On Bowman, he was 26 for 50. He threw it 50 times, by the way. 364 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions.
This Oklahoma State team is flawed. They can't run block for real.
No.
Bowman's having to pass all game like this. This isn't just a one-time thing. They consistently struggle to run the football this season.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a problem when your best player is at running back. And he can't hit the holes, or you can't create the opportunities for him to have explosive plays like you were last year. And just crazy because I feel like this is a very experienced offensive line. They brought back a lot of guys from last season, so you would anticipate this bunch the way Ollie Gordon was running last year to be able to continue that this season. But if Bowman's going to be passing the ball like that, it's not going to go in Oklahoma State's favor.
No, you're right. You're right. Yeah, this is beginning to be a mess. If you're Mike Gundy, and I don't know how you fix it for the rest of the season. This is your team. They're not. You got the best running back in the country last year, and I'm just gonna say it for this year. I think it's Gianti from Boise State. The guy is ridiculous. Like, I've never seen this amount of regression from one player and offense. I mean, the whole unit has regressed, and you can't put the blame.
They could be 2-3 right now. They snuck out of Stillwater with that win against Arkansas.
Yeah, they did. They did, and a lot of Oklahoma State fans are talking about that, which it comes back to the problem of, like, what is up with this team? Like, the defense isn't doing anything. Also, they're getting smacked in the mouth every time against any and everybody. Like, hey, what do you do?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I don't know. It's puzzling, but this is where we're at now with OK State.
Yeah, no, definitely it's time to put the siren up. Start the siren. This is very concerning. Sound the alarm. Oklahoma State might not be what we thought they were this season. So it's time to reassess based off what we see on the field, because there are a lot of questions around this team. And shout out to Kansas State doing what we anticipated back at home and enforcing their will at the line of scrimmage. They got things rolling that third quarter. It was on and popping from there. So, K-State looks solid. I don't know if we can take too much from this game based off our questions about Oklahoma State, but at least Kansas State won this game in a fashion that we can leave saying, okay, they dominated. Like, it wasn't like they just squeaked by against Oklahoma State. Like, they really cranked it up and won this game in the kind of way that you want to see from a team that's good.
Yeah. It was a great game by them. Great game by Avery Johnson. Just 3 touchdowns that he threw, 2 of them. He had 5 touchdowns in total. 2 of them was rushing. So, hats off to Avery Johnson, where, he had a big day in this ball game. So, man, it was a big game for Kansas State. They needed that game desperately for their confidence. It's not easy at all. We talked about this on the show, Chris, where, going to Provo, Utah is very hard to win at night against BYU. So this was a big confidence booster for K-State in getting back on track. So, hats off to them.
For sure.
Yes, sir.
For sure.
Yes, sir. So, anything else, Chris, you want to add before we move on to the other scores?
No, sir. We can keep it rolling.
All right. Well, now we will head to some of the other scores in the top 25 last week. Number 1, Texas. Chris hosted Mississippi State. This was the first game for Texas in the SEC. Arch Manning, I know it was a whole whirlwind of talk about who's going to start at quarterback for this week. Is it Arch? Is Quinn back healthy again? Came Arch Manning. It was a weird game, Chris, where Mississippi State was giving their all against Texas.
Look, they were right there in the game with Texas, 14-6.
Yeah.
At one point, State was right there. The defense played very well. I feel like, and
shocked me.
Saw them make some plays, force some turnovers. Hey, I think as a State fan, you leave this game saying, "Okay,
yeah,
we ain't get embarrassed."
Maybe there is hope. Maybe there is hope for us. Like going up against top tier talent like Texas.
At Texas,
yeah.
Van Buren, true freshman, first ever career start.
Mm-hmm.
Was not bad.
No.
This team was right there, played some solid football. So hey, that's a good win. If you're a Texas fan, you're sitting there like, hopefully this is just an off week. I think it's just an off week. I guess we just didn't play up to our standard. We'll learn more about Texas if this was maybe a game we should pay more attention to. We'll understand that here in the coming weeks. But I guess for now, you kind of will just shrug it off as you played down to our competition. Didn't have the great game we anticipated, but we won comfortably. Won by 20 plus 22.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't cover, but it is what it is. We'll take any win when we can get it. But 35-13 was the score. Arch Manning was 26 for 31, 324 yards with 2 touchdowns. So, really good game by Arch Manning, showing why, he is going to be next man up once Quinn officially leaves the Longhorns. But, it's good for them depth-wise moving forward. But, good win for Texas still. So yeah, number 3, Ohio State versus Michigan State, Chris. Ohio State wins that game 38-7. We had Will Howard. He was 21 for 31, 244 yards, 2 touchdowns. Emeka Ibuka, which is one of the best wide receivers in college football today, Chris. 7 receptions, 96 yards, and a touchdown as well. Ohio State's quietly winning. No one's really talking about it right now, but they're quietly winning.
They are quietly winning. And Ibuka he's one of those guys. And hey, everybody been talking about Ryan Williams, Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah,
he's something special too. True freshman. Jeremiah Smith, boy, I don't know if you saw them one-handed grabs he had, Kory.
Oh yeah,
hey,
I saw it.
Oof. Ooh.
That was crazy.
He's big time. So Will Howard's got some dogs to work with out there at OSU.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wide receiver you.
Ohio State.
Yes.
Yeah, they are it seems like Ohio State might be wide receiver you. They've been producing some guys now.
They do. And they got another crop over there in Columbus, Ohio right now. So it's just another day in the office if you're Ryan Day and squad.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. So it was a good win by the Buckeyes. Number 8 Oregon goes to UCLA. Chris, 34-13 was the score. Dylan Gabriel threw for 3 touchdowns to beat the Golden Bears. So, maybe we're looking at Dylan Gabriel starting to finally settle into his own at Oregon. Maybe a little bit of it was, I guess you could say the pressure of being the quarterback for the Oregon Ducks. Now that you're in the Big Ten, of course, you wanna really, impose your will on a lot of different teams. I know Oregon looks at themselves as one of the big dogs out there, but maybe it took a little bit for Dylan Gabriel to get his feet set into Oregon, but hey, the Ducks 4-0. They're kind of quietly winning as well. A little noise, but they're still handling business.
Yeah, good win for Oregon. They are not really being talked about. So they're just out here collecting another victory, and we'll see if this team can continue to progress. Because I feel like the offense still has another level that they can tap into, take things up a notch. To be a little more potent. I think they can be a better team. I still want to keep my Oregon stock. I don't think Oregon has peaked yet at all. This team can tap into another level, and if they do, they can be a national championship contender like we anticipated them being at the start of the season.
Yeah. So it's good for them to keep winning. Maybe they can keep finding themselves throughout each game. They're still going to have some big games coming up. They're in the Big Ten now, so they're going to have to come with it if they want to, really keep their names in playoff discussion. But yeah, we'll see what happens with Oregon going forward this season. So, number 19, Illinois, Chris, goes to Penn State. Number 9, Penn State. Aller and Luke Altmaier and squad looking to take on Drew Aller and Penn State Nittany Lions. So this was a game, Chris, where Illinois was really kind of pushing around Penn State a little bit. They were really challenging Penn State at times in this game, and I watched it kind of moving back and forth between the Bama and Georgia game. That Penn State they were knocking on the door. They got that touchdown later in the game, and they won it ultimately 21-7. So it was a little dog fight, I would say, but overall, Drew Aller and company, took care of business, and now they're 4-0. So I don't think it's nothing that Illinois should be, sad about. That this is a good Penn State team.
Yeah, no, they kept it close. I said that, I thought they would win, but I knew they would at least keep it close.
Yeah, they did.
So, another win for Penn State. I think I'm sure they would like to have dominated this game more, put up some more points. But like we said, Illinois is a scrappy, tough team, and I don't think they were going to go out without a fight, and they didn't.
No, they did not. They did not. So, yeah, it was a big win, and for Penn State. And now they're gonna keep moving forward for the rest of the season. So they have a game against UCLA coming up this week. So that should be another win for them to chalk into the win column. So. All right. Arizona and Utah, Chris. This was a game late at night. I did get a chance to, catch the end of this game. Arizona, man, Noah Fafita, the guy is amazing. I know that's your guy. But yeah, man, he capped off this game with a long touchdown to pretty much end the game to Burnett. And now Arizona's 3-1. For the season. So, and they got that first big win in the Big 12. So, it was a great win for Arizona by beating Utah at their place, which was pretty shocking for me to see, because Utah usually they're very tough to beat at home.
They are. Cam Rising just can't stay healthy.
He just can't.
His body won't let him. So, Arizona took advantage, and they got the dub. Good win on the road for the Wildcats.
Yeah. So it was a big win for them. Minnesota and Michigan. Michigan hosts Minnesota. Michigan wins this game 27-24. I know I watched a little bit of that game, just a little bit of it, and that was not the score going into halftime. Michigan was up 21-3 in that ball game, and Minnesota comes back in the fourth quarter late to try to make it a game, but Michigan finds another way to win, Chris.
Yeah. No, they found a way to win. It wasn't pretty.
Yeah.
Gave up a lot of points that fourth quarter, but the kind of season that Michigan started off initially having, you just take every win, however you can get it.
Exactly, every win how you can get it. So big win for Michigan. We'll see what happens with them moving forward. USC defeats Wisconsin 38-21. USC is now 3-1 for the season. So bounce back game for the Trojans, and we'll see what happens with them going forward, Chris. So good win for USC. LSU defeated South Alabama 42-10. I mean, Garrett Nussmeier and company, they could name the score on South Alabama all they wanted down there in Baton Rouge. So 4-1 for the Tigers. Notre Dame and Louisville, I know that we talked about this on the predictions show, Chris. This was a game that we wanted to see, and we wanted to see big things from Riley Leonard. We got to see him, run and pass, of course, in this game. And 31-24 victory over Louisville. So, Notre Dame is now 4-1 for the season. Did you get a chance to catch that game, Chris?
Saw some of it. It's a good win for Notre Dame. They couldn't afford to lose that game as a team that's trying to make the playoffs. Yeah. So their schedule doesn't give them too many opportunities to prove themselves after that NIU loss. So good win for the Fighting Irish. Take care of home field and beat another ranked opponent.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, number 17, Clemson hosted Stanford, Chris. Clemson is now 3-1 for the season with a 40-14 victory over the Cardinals. Clemson, some people have really pissed off Clemson after that Georgia game. Like, they have been just stomping people left and right for weeks.
Dabo is on a revenge tour. He is not here for y'all talking crazy about him and how he's running his program at Clemson. They've been whooping butt.
They are. They whooping feet out there in Clemson.
They are whooping feet in Clemson. Hey, we're going to get this question answered at some point, but maybe a gap between Miami and Clemson ain't as large as we thought it was initially.
Maybe so. It's
just a question. I mean, just put it out there. They might be on the same tier. I'm just saying.
They might be. Like, hey, it's going to be interesting to see, as both teams, keep winning. Because next up, Clemson's going to keep doing this, because next up on the list is Florida State. And we all saw what happened with Florida State taking on SMU. Was ugly.
Florida State might not be bowl eligible this season.
Oh man, look, shoot. Hey, I'm going off the record to probably say Mississippi State still got a chance to be bowl eligible over Florida State at this point.
Yeah, that's saying something. But yeah,
that's saying something.
It's not looking good at all for Florida State, boy. But but good win by Clemson. Stanford isn't great or anything, but you take care of business. You whoop up on the teams you're supposed to whoop up on. You're going to always give you credit for doing so because it's inconsistent out here in these college football streets.
Right. No, you're right. You are right. A couple other games, of course, Chris, before we get ready to wrap up on today's show. Number 18, Iowa State goes to Houston. They win that game 20-0. Rocco Beck, being one of those, lower tier, Heisman style candidates out there. I mean, look, he has Iowa State rolling with a 4-0 record right now. So, they're still handling business out there at Iowa State.
Oh yeah, yes they are. Iowa State has a really good, really sound, disciplined team. Nothing special, nothing fancy.
Yeah. Good receivers.
They do have really good receivers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you mentioned that because one of their main guys, Higgins.
Yeah.
I saw him play. He's an EKU transfer. I've seen him in person. Played at Eastern Kentucky.
Yeah. Jaden Higgins.
Jaden Higgins, he impressed me when I saw him at EKU. He was in the high-powered offense with Parker McKinney. Broke a lot of records. And I was like, man, this Higgins guy, he's nice. And he might be a Sunday guy, Kory. Like, Jaden Higgins is, hey, I'm very impressed by him. Like, he makes plays every Saturday. If Iowa State continues to play great and win some games that, you might not anticipate them winning in the Big 12, we were high on them preseason. They're continuing to play well. If they end up competing for a conference championship, it's because Higgins is making plays on the outside. I like him a lot.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, they have some very good, talented players right now for Iowa State, which is one of the reasons why they're 4-0 right now. So, the sky's the limit for Rocco Beck and that ball club right now. They're riding high in the Big 12, so we'll see what happens with them moving on. This season. So, Oklahoma, Chris, goes to Auburn. And this is one of the most interesting games. I'd say, not naming Bama and Georgia and a couple others. Oklahoma wins this game 27-21. Their defense gets a pick six, wins this ball game. Chris, Peyton Thorne, he got back in the game for Auburn as QB1. 21 for 32, 338 yards and 3 touchdowns in this ball game. So, they at one point they were riding high where it looked like Auburn was they were controlling the game and it looked like they were going to run away with it. But Oklahoma fought back, got that huge pick six to get back in the game and win it. I mean, just a total collapse by Auburn. I mean, we haven't really talked about Auburn too much on this show, Chris. After a couple of these losses, they're now 2-3 now. What can you assess now with this team? What are you looking at now?
It's a flawed team. I mean, look, I think we all knew it would take some time for Auburn to get things together. They got some good young guys. I mean, yeah, that's a tough loss, man. You can't lose this game. You got to find a way to win this game. That pick six hurts.
That hurts.
That hurts a lot. I'm still in on Hugh Freeze. I'm sure he'll get things together. We'll see if he can keep this locker room intact. He's under a lot of heat right now, so we're going to see how this team responds. But man, that's one you need to win right there at home. SEC home game. against Oklahoma. Oklahoma's kind of reeling. Yeah, you controlled this game for the most part. You just literally gave it away that fourth quarter. Gave them 17 points. Oklahoma wins.
Yeah. So
it's not looking good out there in Auburn, but I think
it's not.
I'm still keeping my Hugh Freeze stock. But this is as far as it goes for this season, it ain't gonna be a good season.
Yeah. I don't know. If you're a Tigers fan right now, man, it's just like the season is slipping more and more away from you by the week, and they're finding different ways to lose these games, Chris. That's what's shocking to me. Like, they're just finding all these creative ways to lose these games.
Yeah. Auburn for you. Yeah. They find creative ways to win them, and they find creative ways to lose.
So, yeah, man. We'll see what happens with Auburn moving forward. But yeah, it's a tough loss out there in the plains for sure. So, number 22, BYU goes to Baylor, wins that game 34-28. So BYU is now 5-0, 2-0 in the Big 12. So yeah, a big win for the Cougars. Arkansas and Texas A&M, Chris, they play every year where they have their big Texas Classic game. 21-17 was the score at the end. Texas A&M is now 4-1, 2-0 in the SEC play. I mean, A&M's kind of, mustering up something right now, Chris. And they're looking good, riding high. So, what do you think? What do you think is going on right now with the Aggies?
I think the Aggies just beat Arkansas. I'm about to get you. It's just a win over Arkansas. Good win for A&M. This is a game that they, sometimes they might blow, but lately, they got the win. And just TBD on A&M. I'm not just out on them. I like the quarterback change. I think the switch has been good for them. So we'll see how things continue to develop and unravel out there in College Station. But just a good solid win in a game that had no business being played where it was played. We couldn't just have the game at the home field for both of these teams the last few years.
Yeah, I mean, but they love playing in Dallas. We
don't need to make them feel good. They don't need them playing in Dallas. Play that game at home. Y'all ain't good enough to be out there in Dallas.
There may have been a time where this game, for both teams did kind of come with that. That big fight feel, at one point when both teams were riding high in the SEC. But, this game can happen pretty much in Arkansas or at A&M. We ain't got to keep doing all this. We ain't got to break the bank.
No more of it. Ain't no need for that. No need for it.
Oh man. But it's going to continue. It's going to continue. But yeah, 21-17 was the score in that game. And finally, Boise State hosted Washington State. My boy John Mater taking on Boise State Broncos, Chris. I thought that this game was going to be one of those, late night sleep, sneaky good games for the Saturday evening. But and it was, it did come with that level of competition, and it was a fun game to watch. But it was even more fun to watch Ashton Gianti run for 259 yards and 4 touchdowns. This man is a machine, Chris. You are absolutely right. This man is the number 1 running back in the country this season.
Yes, sir. He is, and he keep on. You need to talk about him for the Heisman.
Like, look,
this man, he's already put up stats that people would love to have for a season in 4 games.
You gotta you gotta find like a fifth seat in New York. Like, I'm sorry. Like, this guy has to go to New York at the end of the season.
Yes, yeah, I think he will be there. He's special, and is this the last of the top 25?
Yes,
Kory?
it is. It is. We will now move on to our chief of the week. If you have a chief of the week, sir.
I was just gonna say, Ashton is the chief. What he's doing is incredible.
Oh,
The man had 259 yards, 4 touchdowns. He just keeps doing this game after game, 200 plus. He's gonna be probably will crack 1,000 yards next week.
Yeah,
it's special what he's doing. I have to make him my chief.
nice. Yeah, look, man, the guy's on fire right now. There's nothing more I can say about it. He's playing with his hair on fire.
No, he's just a man amongst boys. It seems like just bouncing off tacklers. I feel like he's going to be a running back that goes first round. This in the NFL draft. That's saying something. A lot of these guys don't go in the first round anymore. But I think if you need a running back, I don't think you can pass this guy up. You got to take him.
I know. I would. If I was an NFL GM, I would definitely take this guy. Like, this guy is putting up video game numbers right now.
Mm-hmm. And I've seen what he can do in the video game. People talk noise about the EA college football game being real arcadey and not realistic. Hey, look, from what I've been seeing in this season, that game is looking real spot on.
I know. And he's looking good doing it.
He put up the same numbers in the video game that he's putting up in real life.
He's putting validity to this. So you like, look, what you see in the video games, I do this is real life. Like, the video game ain't lying to you.
Yeah, it's not. It's not at all.
Oh, man.
That's for sure.
Nice, man. Well, yeah, no, I appreciate you putting Mr. Gianti in for your chief of the week for week 5. For week 5, my chief of the week, Chris, goes out to Avery Johnson out of Kansas State. 3 touchdowns passing, 2 touchdowns rushing, total of 5 for the day. Just carved up the Cowboys. So shout out to Avery Johnson by answering the call for his team this week and getting back on track. So a lot of that was his doing. So and Oklahoma State had nothing to answer for. So
they couldn't do anything with him. It's the kind of game you definitely want to see if you're a K-State fan and that you needed out of Avery with the expectations surrounding him this season.
Yeah. Nah, I agree. But yeah, man. It was a great week overall, Chris. Week 5 is in the books now. Now we head to week 6 of the college football season. So, which big games we have on the lineup for week 6?
Yeah, so we got a few games to look at. Of course, Missouri A&M is an intriguing one just because everybody has their questions about Missouri.
Yeah.
And then, so you need to win at College Station, and then A&M wants to prove that they're for real. So nothing proves that you're for real more than beating the team that people already have questions about. So it's interesting either way.
Yeah.
How this thing plays out.
Yeah. So it's gonna be a lot of sneaky good games coming up this week. I know Iowa, Ohio State. People will be tuning in to that one. So I think Ohio State is going to handle Iowa fairly well. Auburn at Georgia.
That's South Carolina, another one. South Carolina, looking to bounce back themselves from that LSU game.
Yeah.
So this is a big matchup. This is a chance and opportunity to right your wrong in that regard and get a win over a Ole Miss team that might be reeling in this matchup. We're going to learn some character about some of these teams here very soon.
I know. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. Tennessee at Arkansas. I think Nico's going to be able to
ran off the field.
I think that's gonna be the tide that turns down there in Fayetteville, in terms of how the way they feel about Sam Pittman this season. It's been back and forth, but yeah.
Yeah, that one, man, that's unfortunate for our boy Sam. Coach Pittman, good guy, but they finna catch it. That's on Saturday.
Yeah, like. They're not able to just go out there and just try to compete. If they go out there and get ran over, man.
They get ran over, brother.
Yeah.
they gonna get railroaded. I think so, at least. I can't see it. Even though it's at home. Anything can happen in these home SEC games, as we know. I just don't think it's in the cards for Arkansas.
Look, Sam Pittman, I'm trying to give you an out on this one. Chris is really he's giving you the nail in the coffin on this one. Let's prove Chris wrong on this one, all right?
I wouldn't mind it because I love Sam Pittman. Seems like a good coach, man. He had some unfortunate losses there at Arkansas, man. Tough losses, like just right there on the cusp of like coming through.
Yeah.
But Arkansas is no Arkansas. Arkansas fans will tell you that themselves.
Oh yeah. Yeah, man. Yes, be a slew of good games this week. I mean, Michigan at Washington, USC at Minnesota. So, just we'll see what happens with those games as well. For both those teams, kind of, could those be trap games in the Big Ten? So, it's just a slew of games for the week. So,
yeah, we'll see how they all play out. Not too many high profile matchups, like you said. Just some ones that can end up being tricky.
Right. So, we'll definitely be tuned in to watch a lot of these games coming up this week. But yeah, man, great week overall, Chris. Appreciate you, brother. We got a week 6 coming into play, so we'll definitely be here on the show to break down our predictions, and we'll go over it for next week's show. Talked about all the events that happened in week 6. But before we head out of here, Chris, let the good people know where they can find you on social media.
Yes, sir. So you can find me on X at Chris_Bolton_12 and on Instagram at Chris.Bolton_.
Nice. And you can find me on X as well at Listen to KSW, all one handle. On there talking college football, professional wrestling, all of that. So yeah, be sure to find me on there. But yeah, that's it for us, everyone. As always, you know where to find us. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the show on all of your favorite streaming platforms out there. That way we can get feedback for the show. But until next time, I am Kory Willis. He is Chris Bolton. You are listening to the Breakdown Sportscast. We'll catch y'all later on. Peace.